Welcome to the Tired Witches podcast. My name is Olivia, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Ashley. Ashley, how are you doing this fine Friday morning? Afternoon?
Is it Friday?
Whatever time it is?
It's 1 o'clock. It's been a day. It's Friday. I can never complain about Friday because it means I don't have to wake up tomorrow to get people out the door. So
That's true. I keep forgetting you have kids that you have to wake up early in the morning for.
I know. I have a normal life.
Hey, my cats wake me up at 5 a.m. to get fed, so...
I know, but then you just crawl right back inside.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
It's not hard for me, thank God.
And I have to say, battling an almost 11-year-old with hair, it takes a lot of hours out of me.
Just getting up in general, I remember what it was like at that age. I didn't want to wake up.
Well, because she is her mother, so getting out of bed is just, yeah.
Not a thing for her. She's not having it.
I've seen my future, and it's not good.
Only 7 more years. You're fine. You can chug through this.
7? Oh my.
That time goes by so quick, though.
It really does.
It
really does. I had her super young, so it has gone by fast. Trust me, it really does.
So, Ashley, why don't you tell our audience what we are talking about today?
Oh, I am so excited for this video. I have been wanting to do this one for such a long time. As someone that has been in the fandom, I find it really fascinating what the center topics are when it comes to arguments. And as someone that has been in the fandom for going on 3 years now, I can say that it hasn't always been this Lizzie versus Katie narrative. Actually, the original was Lizzie versus Gibsie.
Yep, I could see that.
And it's really got me
T7 for sure, even.
Exactly. And it's really got me thinking a lot lately because I feel like with this whole Lizzie versus Katie thing, I mean, this stuff is so irrelevant. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
It's so small in comparison to what actually matters. And Lizzie versus Gibsie is an actual thing. It might not be the central plot when you start the series, but it is still there in the background to a point where it affects the plot going.
Yeah.
It affects all the characters' interactions, their conversations. We know all about a very, very infamous event that happens at the end of Keeping 13 on a camping trip. And it's just, I have always found this center relationship, friendship, to be very, very fascinating. And it really opened up my eyes. Olivia and I were talking in our Hizzy Week episode. We really realized that Lizzie and Gibsie are technically the glue of this friendship. R10 really showcased, honestly, in my opinion, Liv, you might have another opinion, but I think Lizzie and Gibsie actually had the best friendship.
I think they have
wholesome.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah, and so once they had their fracture, their divide, nothing was the same anymore. And Hughie even states that. Like, this is the beginning of, he knew nothing was ever going to be the same again.
Yeah.
And also, you have to look at the fact, look at how torn and broken both those two were when they separated that friendship.
Yeah. Why don't we go back and talk about their friendship at the very beginning, right? Okay. Which is Releasing 10. I think Releasing 10 does a really good job of showing just how close they were and what kind of parallels to one another they are, especially when it comes to the big siblings, right? How both of them rely on their significant other, Claire and Hughie, in different ways. They're codependent on them in very different ways. Like, you get that scene where Lizzie, I think it's a New Year's Eve party in Releasing 10. Gibsie's over at Lizzie's house, and they're both waiting for Claire and Hughie to arrive. And the second the doorbell rings, Gibsie jumps up and he's like, she's here. And Lizzie jumps up at the same time and goes, he's here. And they both run down the stairs. Like, those little parallels to each other are very important, I think are often overlooked. You also have these two characters who have gone through such immense trauma, the same trauma, right? Both victims of Mark, but how they respond to that trauma is very differently, right? And then because of their response, the the audience's response and view of these two characters is also very different.
Yes. And also, I've brought this up too. Another thing they have in common, other than Mark, is they both lost their sisters to water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Well, they both lost siblings, right? And they viewed each other as siblings. And so not only did they lose their sisters, they lost each other.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Which they had kind of leaned on each other as that sibling image.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember right after the breakup, because Hughie kept saying, you know, Gibsie's really torn about this. And Lizzie says, I'm really torn about this. He's like my brother, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't Gibsie the one in Releasing 10 to say, let's keep her? Let's keep her. Like, once Lizzie comes around, he's the one who's like, she's part of us now, you guys. I want to keep her here. And you better marry her, Hugo Boss Man. Like, he is one of Lizzie's biggest defenders in the early days of their friendship. And she is one of his. She beats up people who were insulting him and making fun of him. You know? She doesn't hesitate to she knows she's going to get in trouble with her parents. She knows she's probably going to get locked away and have medicine shoved down her throat. But the second she sees her friends being picked on, especially Gibbs, she jumps in to defend them, you know? And I think people overlook that aspect of Lizzie to focus on the negative for her. But she is genuinely, and it's shown in our 10, stand 10 toes down beside my friend type of person, you know, at the expense of herself.
They had one moment in R10 where they almost revealed it to each other. I remember Lizzie could sense something was wrong and she pulled him up to her room. And they basically kind of gave each other this signal, basically knowing we kind of know what's going on, but without actually saying it.
They both say they don't like Mark. And he's like, does he hurt? And Gibsie straight asks her, does he hurt you? And I think a lot of people are like, Lizzie could have told him in that moment. But in Lizzie's mind, she doesn't even see herself as a victim, right? I think she views herself as the victim through Kiva. And that's why she says he hurts Kiva, right? She has put all of her trauma onto Kiva. All of the events that have happened to her, she thinks has happened to Kiva, right? And so in that moment, that was her way of saying, yes, he does hurt me, but because she thinks they're dreams. She thinks the monster is made up in her head. She can't be completely honest with Gibsie in that moment, you know?
And why this whole thing, I say this all the time, as much as I hate Mark, he's so intelligent with playing chess versus checkers and how he manipulated these kids, because with Lizzie's mind and everything, like you laid out perfectly, she was able to put everything that happened to her onto Kiva, right?
Yeah.
Well, then you have Gibsie, who knows what Kiva knew with the whole walking in, and so he feels really betrayed and angry about that. So you just have these two pieces that they're never going to come together because they both just have this narrative.
Yeah. And he doesn't believe that Kiva's a victim. Yeah. And he doesn't believe Kiva's a victim because he witnessed
exactly. So, and that's what I'm saying is, so Lizzie putting all of what happened to her onto Kiva, it just makes it completely invalid to Gibsie.
Yeah, he doesn't see it because, and Lizzie can't see it because she knows it happened, but she just doesn't understand that it happened
to her. Right.
You know? So they're at this impasse, and anytime in the book where they were close to revealing to one another, something Mark would pop in, like at the funeral, right? We have the big breakup. We can get into that, the big breakup scene at the funeral where Lizzie is, and no one ever looks at this. Lizzie watched her sister be killed in front of her. For 3 weeks, she was held captive by a man who viciously assaulted her, right? And we have to be careful with monetization, especially now, of the wording we use. But for 3 weeks, she was held captive, convinced she was the monster, told that it was her fault, told that it was Gibsie's fault. That the entire time during the 3 weeks, that's what Mark was telling her in her ear, that no one was going to believe her, right? She gets out. Her sister's dead. She has seen her sister be unalived by Mark. And she's begging, she knows, based on the private conversation she had with Gibsie, that Gibsie knows something, right? And so she's begging Gibsie, please back me up. Please, please, please. And because of his fear of Mark in that moment, he doesn't. And so she feels truly abandoned. And of course, in my opinion, her response is not illogical. It makes complete sense. She feels abandoned. She feels left to, once again, another person calling me crazy, saying they don't believe me. And then you have right afterwards his mom putting a restraining order, a complaint against her, but for both of her sons. That doesn't bode well for their friendship, you know?
No.
So Lizzie's response to Gibsie in that moment and her not wanting anything to do with him afterwards, to me, is completely logical. I completely see where she comes from there.
And I've thought about this too, because like I said, Mark was intelligent. You have to wonder the conversations he was having with his parents at home about the insane little girl who is his girlfriend's sister.
Yeah.
So he could have just been planting those seeds, getting them ready.
Because he was saying it to Kiva. Remember when Kiva was like, not Lizzie? He was like, you can't trust her. She's crazy.
Exactly.
Can't trust her. Right?
Exactly.
And he is so smart and manipulative that when he tried that same tactic on Gibsie and realized it didn't work, he knew then he had to swap and then turn them against one another. And that is what ultimately ended up working, you know? So when there's this narrative of, and I don't ever want to see anybody coming in here saying that you or I have ever been anti-Gibsie, because there's never been one video on my page that's anti-Gibsie. There's never been one video on your page that's anti-Gibsie.
And I have 3 years of Boys of Tommen content to back up, so...
When you have this narrative of Lizzie versus Gibsie, you're literally feeding into what Mark wants and what he had planned the whole time, right? Or the people who say that Lizzie owes Gibsie an apology. No, she doesn't. She doesn't.
Yeah, because here's the thing, you guys. This fandom, first of all, is a mess. It's a lot of drama, and a lot of people like to specifically dissect things in a way that will make a person a villain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And before we got our 10 and learned of the origins of Thor and Viper, as this episode is titled, a lot of people took Lizzie referring to Gibsie as Thor as bullying and harassment, name calling.
Yeah. And that's we got that different perspective. Perspectives matter.
Because even I will say, as somebody who loves all these characters, when I read R10, I was shocked to learn that Thor and Viper were both terms of endearment for each other. And I think it's important that they still call each other that.
Yeah.
We talked again about this in our Hizzy Week 1. A lot of the times, whether you're watching TV or a movie, whether it's romance or a friendship, when characters have a very specific nickname for each other and they only call each other that nickname, if you are on the outs and it is so serious, you're using their actual name. You tend to drop the nickname. And I find it interesting that they have never dropped the nicknames.
Yeah, I agree. And even a lot of people point to that big blow-up scene in Keeping the Camping Trip where Lizzie pushes Gibsie as her being vile and a bully. But if you actually go back and read the scene, Gibsie kind of starts in on Lizzie first, right? Because he thinks she's making fun of him. And she straight tells him, hey, I'm not making fun of you. Like, that's not what I was trying to do. But because he's so used to being on the defense with her, that's what he assumed was happening. And so he immediately got defensive, right? And so then it escalates from there. And Claire and Shannon both note that they're not paying attention to their surroundings, that they don't realize how close they are getting to the river. And Lizzie just is like, get away from me. She's not intentionally like, I'm going to shove this guy in the water. And the second it happens, she's horrified. She is bawling, apologetic. She calls him Gibsie for the first time in years.
Shannon notes that Lizzie yelled in shock.
Yeah. And I think when we get this, and this is another reason why I think having this scene from Lizzie's POV is going to be very important.
Yes.
And I think, and that's why I don't like people saying we don't need more POV. We do. I 100% need Hughie's POV here, and I 100% need Lizzie's POV here.
We have to remember that Lizzie was around when Joe and Bethany died. She was one of Gibsie's biggest supporters during that funeral, during the Taming 7 prologue. And so I would just imagine in her POV, because like Shannon said, she was in shock, those kinds of things are going through her mind.
Yeah. Well, and you also have to then realize she was one of Gibsie's biggest support systems when his sister and dad died, but she feels like Gibsie was not there for her when her sister died, right? Another thing with trauma response, you have these two characters who are so similar, especially with their love interest, with the trauma they've gone through, but how they have dealt with that trauma is very different. And it comes down to, once again, in my opinion, a lot of misogyny and a lot of people who think that women should handle trauma a certain way, and if they don't, they're the villain.
Well, and I think that also stems with who their partners are, because I was thinking about this before we started recording, because the big siblings are very, very similar when it comes to their partners. They are both caretakers. They are willing to sacrifice every bit of who they are to make sure the love of their life is okay. We saw in our 10 how Sinead is not okay with that. She doesn't like how much Hughie gives of himself to be there for Lizzie. Now, granted, we have not had a past book for Claire and Gibsie. Taming 7 wasn't that long, but we never saw anything like that from her mother, of her constantly sleeping in the boy across the street's bed, which you're a teenage girl. And so that's another thing. Why is it okay for Claire to give up every part of her to take care of Gibsie, but it's not okay for Hughie to do it for Lizzie? Now, I am not saying that Hughie and Claire should both be giving up so much parts of themselves to take care of it. They shouldn't. They really, really shouldn't. Healing 7 is going to be a big part of Claire healing herself, putting herself first, which she needs. Hughie, obviously, we're going to see what his journey has been the last several years. But I find it very fascinating that it's okay that Claire does it, but it's not okay that Hughie does it.
And I think it comes down to, once again, that
the
misogyny, and Lizzie has a mental illness, and therefore she is looked at very differently than Gibsie, you know?
Absolutely.
And you see that with the audience and the audience's response to both of these characters, you know? I just will never get over people saying, well, Gibsie went through a lot of trauma too, and he doesn't behave the same way that Lizzie does. And
I'm like, this is not the trauma Olympics. This is not a competition. This is something that I have said in a lot of my videos for years now, talking about this series. One thing that Chloe portrays is how differently people handle trauma. We're not all same. We're not all the same, you guys. We are not mirrors of each other. We are very different. We handle bad things differently. Let's look at Joey. Joey self-medicates. Johnny. You can say what you want about Johnny, but Johnny had his own trauma with his rugby injury, and he kept ignoring it. Because he's like, I'm not going to let this take away from what I want. Then you have Shannon. Then you have Lizzie, obviously. Gibsie masks. We don't know a lot about Feely yet, or Katie, but from what we've been clued in on, we have eating disorders and drinking. So everybody handles things that go on in their lives in different ways, and it is not fair to compare, because the biggest comparison that I have seen is Shannon. Shannon is constantly brought up. Well, Shannon had this going on at home, and this and this and this, but she's never, ever talked badly about people. That's because Shannon is a different person from Lizzie. I don't know how more clear I can be about that. I really don't know how more clear I can be about that. They are different people.
I could go through this very same event tomorrow. Same traumatic event tomorrow, and how we handle and respond to that is going to be very different. Based on our upbringing, based on the environment we grew up around in, based on our mental health in that current moment. Like, all of these things are very important. And I think that is overlooked to hold Lizzie to such a high standard. A teenage girl with a mental illness who has been through severe trauma, to such a high standard.
I remember being a teenage girl and feeling like it was the end of the world for the most mediocre things.
Seriously.
So I couldn't even imagine. And here's the thing, I argued this before our 10 came out too, before we knew the context of Lizzie. Kiva dying alone is excuse enough. I'm sorry, it is an excuse enough. As someone with a sibling, with a sister, if my sister whether Kiva was killed or unalived, whatever that narrative was at the time, if she was gone and I was 12 years old at that time, that is going to affect me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You think I'm ever going to be the same again? I might as an adult after getting a lot of help, but at the age of 12 through high school, do you really think I'm going to be able to get up every morning and be a good person? Especially when the person that you think did it got away and gets to live their life.
And gets to call you crazy.
And gets to call you crazy. And this is why I would get so upset about this Lizzie thing, because I just thought of that alone. How dare you? How think of a person in your life, whether it's a sibling or not, that you care about so much, and they are gone. And you are at such a young, critical age in your life, you really can tell me you're going to be the exact same?
Yeah.
While people are calling you crazy?
Not only people, but your friend group as well, suddenly looking at you differently after your entire life.
And then one of your friends' mothers gets a restraining order on you?
After your entire life, your own family has been telling you that you don't know what you're talking about. Everything you've said is a lie. You're imagining things in your head. You don't know your own truth. And then to have your friend group, then suddenly you feel like that they're doing the same exact thing. Her response is 100% valid. It is.
And we have to look at when they were kids before they had the falling out. Lizzie was nicknamed Viper for a reason. She always had some vicious tendencies. Gibsie has always been the goofy, masking one. But now they are at a point in their lives where these two personas have to be the only wall. This is who they are. They can't let any other part of them out.
Yeah, I agree. And the way Gibsie handles his trauma still is not healthy because he masks it.
Exactly. Which is why I think in Healing 7, the mask is going to finally be dropped.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Like, he goes home and we see him engage in similar behavior as Lizzie, but he does it at home when no one can see it. Lizzie doesn't. She does it in front of everybody because she just explodes, you know? So they're very similar in how they behave. They just mask it differently.
So it took us a while to obviously get to their backstory. So let's take it to the 13 duet. Because like I said, I feel like this friendship is the most important one. It is what is the domino effect and the roots of everything else that is going on. So when we start Binding 13, we are in January of 2005. And something that I have always found fascinating, again with this Lizzie versus Gibsie thing, is a lot of people are under the assumption that Lizzie has been Gibsie's bully for years. That is completely false. And we did not even need R10 to prove that, because you know what?
It's in here.
All in here. So when Shannon gets there, she has a few times where she talks about Lizzie and what Lizzie's doing, and Lizzie doesn't really start to spiral until about April. She's just very calm. She keeps to herself in those winter months. She just goes, oh, hey, what up, Thor? You know, stuff like that. It is not until the spring, when that camping trip happens, that really things start to get really, really tense between the two of them, and it just never lets off. It's like someone slams the gas and they are going full speed.
Yeah.
Because it goes through the summer, it goes through, we know how ugly Taming 7 was, it just doesn't stop. But before then, there was no bullying done.
Yeah. They kind of ignored each other.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. She went about her life. She'd make little comments, like she's laying on Claire's bed reading a magazine going, oh, what up, Thor? Like, you know, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to waste my energy with this.
It's not like Lizzie's sitting there insulting Gibsie 24/7. It is really only when, and we have the proof, and this is why I love that we're going to go and do the deep dive into the books. Like, we're going to go down and break these books 10 chapters at a time. And we will really be able to go in and see this here. That Lizzie starts attacking Gibsie when she starts spiraling. right?
Yes.
And then why does she spiral? We know there's always a catalyst to that spiral, and it has to do with Mark.
So we won't get too much into that, but our timeline video, we talk a lot about that. We basically theorize that Mark returns around Easter. Because here's the thing, Easter, we didn't get any of that in 13 Duet. That is the holiday break when both Johnny and Shannon have been hospitalized. So obviously they don't care about what other people are doing. That is a 2-week break from school. And when Shannon does return to Tommen, it is noted that Lizzie's not in a good place.
And that is when we really see Lizzie going in at Gibsie, right?
That's when it all really turns. And that's when I said it doesn't stop. Because that's when you have Lizzie finally really going vicious to Claire about spending all her time with Gibsie. Because I think before she didn't really care. It was very evident Claire was going to be with both of them. But it wasn't until this spring time period where she was just like freaking out, and for the right reasons. Like we said, her whole narrative, everything that happened to her, she's projected onto Kiva.
Yeah. And don't we even have it here before Dublin, where Lizzie's making actual comments of like, just go be with Gibsie? Like, she's not with Claire. She's making like, go get a room, you guys. Like, she's not trying to keep them apart or saying they shouldn't be together. It's really not until after Dublin, which we now know that she's going to be spiraling based on the snippets we have. So something occurs after Dublin within Lizzie's, and we speculated that it has to do with Mark and her parents' divorce. That causes her to spiral. And then you get that scene at the lunch table with her really going in on Gibsie to the point where Shannon is like, this is way worse than it has ever been. Like,
and Shannon makes a note of that. Yeah.
So to act like Lizzie sat there day after day, week after week, behaving towards Gibsie that way, Shannon specifically notes that is the first time that it's ever been that.
And I see so many comments about like, well, Lizzie has been Gibsie's biggest bully for like a decade. No.
Mark is Gibsie's
Lizzie literally wanted to avoid him.
That was her whole thing. She was like, okay, you know what? I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to, like, he doesn't exist to me type of deal. Is really what she wanted. It was because when you have a friend group implode like that, it is really hard for the other friends to then kind of separate, you know? They really, so Hughie, of course, was still mentioning Gibsie. Claire was still mentioning Gibsie, not understanding that was a trigger for Lizzie, right? Because they don't understand where she's coming from, because we know that she's put her trauma onto Kiva. The other people don't know that, right?
And then, like we said, going back then to Gibsie, that just angers him because Kiva betrayed him.
Yep. He doesn't believe that Kiva's a victim.
It's all a continuous circle that will not stop.
Yes.
To cut it off.
Yeah. And they can't do that really until the mark of it all gets solved, right?
And now, another thing too, going back to the past, I have found it very interesting that it was Gibsie that walked in after Hughie with the Pierce situation.
And defends Lizzie.
Yes. I thought that was very intentional.
Yes, I agree.
Because it could easily have been Feely.
Yeah.
But it was Gibsie.
And he even says maybe she's going through a lot. Maybe we don't know what happened. Maybe we don't know the full story.
Right.
His actual first response, if Lizzie was such his big bully, this was his perfect moment to get rid of her, right?
Absolutely.
But his first response is to be like, let's take a step back and see maybe there's other things going on.
Because that's not the kind of person he is.
No.
We have to look at his actions throughout the whole series. I mean, he gave Aoife hundreds of dollars without even blinking.
Yeah.
It's the kind of person he is, and they still love each other deep down at the end of the day.
Deeply. And I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that especially in Healing 7. How deeply that fracture of a friendship impacted Gibsie. Do we think the D of it all would have happened if Lizzie and Gibsie were friends? No.
That's interesting. Can you Expand on that.
Because I think Dee manipulated Gibsie, and we know that Gibsie has his mask, so Chloe kind of implied that he doesn't know fully the full story of how deeply he was manipulated by Dee.
Yes.
Who was Gibsie's biggest defender when they were kids, when people tried to make comments to him or try to manipulate him? It was Lizzie.
Yeah.
She would have been able to see through that whole Dee scenario, and she would have been able to be like, you're not going to get the hell away from my friend, you know? But because they were separated, it's like a domino effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would Pierce, I think Gibson would never have let Pierce anywhere near Lizzie if they were still friends in that moment, if they weren't fractured.
No.
Like, he would have spotted, why is Pierce being so weird? But because they were not friends in these moments, it is like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because like I said, Lizzie and Gibsie are not the most important part of that 13 duet, but them in the background is just as important.
Agreed.
Because it sets up so much. I mean, you have so many conversations, and then you have Johnny going, what's with the Viper, and calling Pierce a bleeding saint because they have this narrative, and it's just exhausting. It really, really is.
I think what's really going to be interesting to know is, and I'm glad, the whole Dee of it all, the whole Pierce of it all, look at what happened. It was like a spiral effect because their friendship ended.
Yeah. It was a catalyst. It really, that is why them fracturing their friendship was the worst thing.
Yeah. And then you have to go back and look that these events probably would not have happened if the French group was still cohesive and together, you know?
Yeah, and also, because we have theorized, we think that Catherine is going to be a goner. I think also there's another mirror with Gibsie and Lizzie in the fact that I think they are both going to walk out of high school with the family that they were raised with gone. I don't see Gibsie talking to his mother much when this is all said and done.
I agree.
I really don't, and I hope he doesn't.
Especially when the truth of it about Lizzie comes out.
Yes.
Right?
And especially because of that key factor that she put that restraining order on a little girl and caused a lot of this. Because we even have Hughie's narrative of, oh, so Sive is like the all-say in the neighborhood. Yeah. She gets to tell who gets to hang out with who, and it was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And then you have to go back and look at everyone's like, she owes him an apology. Gibsie's not going to want an apology. No. Bottom line.
No, as soon as he finds out that the same thing was happening to Lizzie and that it was actually happening to her first, apologies are completely unnecessary, completely invalid. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And then
everybody else owes Lizzie and Gibsie an apology.
Ding, ding, ding. And then you have to look at both of these characters, Lizzie and Gibsie, more so Gibsie, because Lizzie cannot believe her own past, her own mind. So it is going to be easier for Gibsie to reflect in these moments, okay? That's just the bottom line. Where Gibsie is then going to replay these moments, and Lizzie will too, where they're happy. Oh, he's staying over at Kiva's house. Marcus, I'm free. Lizzie was happy that he wasn't over. He was over at the Gibsons, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, they're both going to replay these moments, knowing that the other person was being assaulted. Abused. Yeah. And that is going to weigh heavy on them as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the most overlooked parallel in this entire core 10 group is the Gibsie-Lizzie parallel that Chloe has really kind of put into place here, and you see it a lot in Releasing 10. When I was doing, and I haven't finished my reread, but when I was doing my reread, I was messaging you. I was like, there are so many moments that I was highlighting in my Kindle where there's the comparison between Gibsie and Lizzie. There's so many little moments of comparison between the two that you can pick up when you do a reread.
This friendship is truly the most important part of the entire series because in the current timeline, where did we leave off? Why is the core 10 fractured? Because of the two of them. It always comes down to the two of them.
It's going to be very interesting to see the fallout from Winter Ball. Because you get in Taming 7, Gibsie, everyone says that it's him being like, I'm finally going to stand up to Lizzie. I don't view it that way. I view it as he's finally going to kind of unveil that Caoimhe was not the victim. You know? Because that's the narrative that's been going around for years, because he doesn't understand that Caoimhe was technically Lizzie, right? So his truth is that Caoimhe was not the victim. She abandoned him and she allowed him to be abused, right? It's not, I'm going to unveil Lizzie for what a villain she is and what a bully she is. No, it's like, it's almost him in a way of like, Lizzie will never see my side of things because she's so protective of Caoimhe. And I understand that that's going to frustrate her and really break up our friendship. But I need this truth to come out because Caoimhe allowed me to be abused for years. That is where I think people not overlook, but look too deeply into that meaning. It's him standing up against Lizzie. It's not him standing up against Lizzie.
No, and once again, you guys, all that does is feed into this rivalry. We have to stop that.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think, honestly, I think it was set up in Taming 7. I think the biggest advocator for putting these two back together is going to be Shannon.
Oh, 100%. I think she's going to be...
I think there's a reason that Chloe worded that final chapter the way she did with everybody's positioning.
The Great War.
Yeah, so we can hold it up on the screen, but if I remember correctly, you have Katie and Aoife together.
Mm-hmm.
You have Hughie all by himself, leaning against the window with his head in his hands, because we still have this really sick, depressed narrative going around. One I found very interesting is Lizzie and Joey in the kitchenette whispering to each other. And it's very noted that Shannon is standing in the middle looking on awkwardly, like she doesn't know what to do.
She's going to feel pulled in several different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's interesting?
Her boyfriend took a side.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be a really big plot in Healing 7.
Healing 7 is going to be where we see it. I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think we are going to get a lot of fallouts in Healing 7.
Because here's the thing, with how Gibsie is as a person, I could also see him telling Johnny, I don't need you fighting with your girlfriend. Like, you don't need to be publicly making sides. Just be okay with Shannon. Little Shannon, you know?
I agree. Just like people who think that Joey's not going to be... I feel like Joey's also going to be... I think the Lynches are going to be kind of the glue to help these two repair their friendship.
That was another thing I was going to... Because here is the thing, okay? R10 did a great job at foreshadowing this protective older brother role that Joey will have for Lizzie, and I don't care if it pisses off the anti-Lizzies. It is there, okay? It is very...
It's 100% there.
It's in Redeeming 6 at the very end. He says she falls under the same umbrella as Shannon and Tig, and he also says he knows she's going to get in trouble, and he's going to have to back her up. Now, Joey...
And he will do so.
Yes.
He will do so.
And now also, Joey, whether he says the guy annoys the shit out of him or not, he's also becoming very good friends with Gussie. So I think Joey is also going to be in this very interesting predicament, but I also think Joey, being the person he is, because Joey's all like, not my circus, not my monkeys, we don't need this drama, we don't need this crap. I could easily see him grabbing both of them by the collar, sitting them on a couch and be like, you talk, you be quiet for 5 minutes. Okay, now your turn, go.
Yeah.
So I could see Joey having some kind of role in that, but I really think Healing 7... that healing part, we've said a lot of it obviously is Gibsie healing. A lot of it is going to be Claire healing, but I think Gibsie and Lizzie themselves could also be starting the process of healing.
Too, for the friend group.
It's so important. That's like literally the point of this podcast is they are the tip of the star.
Yeah. And it is not going to be an apology. It is going to be really an acknowledgement of each other's trauma and olive branches being extended.
I think it's going to be they solidify themselves and nothing's going to get between them again, because this was the problem. Someone was able to get between the two of them, and this is where it's like, no, no one's gonna ruin this again.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree 100%. I think out of all of the relationships in this series, this is the most fascinating to me. Gibsie and Lizzie.
It's the most fascinating to me too. I will tell you, R10, because obviously it is a prequel book, you pretty much know a lot of the big events that are going to come up, and it was them breaking up that was my biggest dread.
Well, and then going forward, look, we are going to have to replay the winter ball scene through Hughie and Lizzie's
Which
POV.
I have said so many times. So, guys, there's so many scenes in the series that I want to reread from other POVs. The winter ball is something I want to stay far away from.
Yeah.
It's such a toxic night filled with so much hate and anger and people with so many blinders on.
Yeah. So much miscommunication, so much tunnel vision, and it's ultimately, in my opinion, one of the biggest explosions and most, how am I trying to word this, emotionally damaging for the entire group. Yeah. I think that moment is supposed to be really Claire's trying to do her best there to like get Gibbs's truth out there, but what ends up happening is it is the most emotionally volcanic moment that the group could go through.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And it's going to do some severe damage.
So with talking about the future, we had a really, I know that we don't have any new snippets, but we can discuss old snippets. We had a really big snippet playlist from, what, like a month ago? Maybe a month and a half? I don't know. The fall all blends together. Gibsie saving Lizzie from jumping.
Well, that's what we
are under the assumption. So so we obviously are thinking this is winter spring 2006.
It has to be after winter ball. Obviously, and it has to be a moment of, we discussed this actually on a live as well, and Grace and Rachel really came up, and Elle's books, I think, really came up with they believe that Gibsie is going to face his fear of water for Lizzie, right? And then we have this snippet of him holding her back, trying to calm her down, and she's yelling at him, stop it, stop making it so hard not to hate you, right? And she's like, I know you hate me, and he's like, I don't hate you. You dying would destroy me. Like, I'm honestly so excited for this scene because I feel like it's going to be them just blurting out exactly how they feel towards one another.
And here's another thing, because we've talked about this one. We've speculated, because I've asked Olivia, what do we think? How does he get there? Does he stumble upon her, or does she leave some kind of goodbye note? And like he's racing to get to her. All of these are fascinating situations.
Yeah.
But I've said this over and over. I've said it all summer long. I am more excited about Lizzie and Gibsie reconciling than I am about Hughie and Lizzie getting back together.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I am on the same boat.
Just because, like, once again, I go back to the fact of these two fighting is what leads to all the negativity in this group.
Yeah.
And the backhanded comments, and it won't be there if that fracture doesn't exist.
I think there has to be a moment, and it's going to be this snippet, and that's why I'm so fascinated by this snippet in this scene of Lizzie has to understand it's not just Hughie who is there for her and wants her to live, right? And I think that's Gibsie's really important role in this moment is, no, you're not alone. You think I hate you, but I don't. I love you. You being hurt in any single way would destroy me. And her understanding that, because she really feels isolated and alone, and that Hughie is the only one who gives a crap about her. Having Gibsie be the person to show her that she is not is going to be so important. And then having Lizzie, who also Gibsie feels he values her as a sister. You can't tell me. I still believe in all of these books, he still desperately wants Lizzie back as a friend.
Absolutely.
And having that moment where he's able to be there for her, I think is going to be important for him and his healing journey.
I just think that out of everyone in this core 10, they both mirror each other in the sense that they are both willing to do anything for other people, even people they hardly know. And I want to bring up an example that just popped into my head. Redeeming Six. They are both such minor characters, but they both have a very large role in assisting Joey and Aoife. You have Gibsie helping out Aoife. I mentioned it earlier. She needed money to pay off Shane Holland to get him away. Gibsie, it was no question to him. Absolutely none. He also drove her to the hospital when she was in labor. It just absolutely no question. Then we have Lizzie. She saved Joey the day at the bridge.
Yeah.
So they're both just people that they don't even think about it.
Right.
They're just such good people, and it's their personalities is what really makes this divide, is because Gibsie is so golden retriever and friendly. Lizzie is not. She is Black Cat. And so that's why it comes across okay for one of them, and then the other one people really like to dissect and go, well, is she really being a good friend? Big deal. She gave a sweater to a kid she doesn't know.
That's not even out of all of it, and I'm gonna say something so controversial. I actually think out of all of the friend group that Lizzie and Gibsie are the best friends.
I do too. That's why I can't reiterate enough. That is why this core 10 is not perfect. It's why a lot of trauma is sliding through the cracks. It's why a lot of revelations haven't come out. It's because these two are fractured.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree.
Now, we do know, Chloe confirmed that we will have future books, whether we don't know the POVs those are in, but we are going to see these characters in the future. So we've kind of discussed how we think that they're going to reconcile. Do we think they'll reconcile to the point that they're besties again, or will kind of fade into graduation with it being a question mark, and then we'll learn when we get them years down the road?
I'm really torn here because I feel like we will eventually see them not besties but siblings, back to that sibling role, because
they're going to be in-laws.
Yeah,
they're going to be forever tied to each other,
and then they will, I feel like, as you stated here, they're not going to have much family left, and so they will kind of take on that role for each other there. But I do feel like that is after graduation. I feel like there's going to be so much that Lizzie and Gibsie both have to heal from individually, that there will be an olive branch extended, and okay, we both know the situation, we both know what's up, we both know we have to work on this friendship, but we also have to work on ourselves. And I think that we'll see that gradually throughout the years. That is what I feel. I don't feel like we walk out of Healing 7, Bot 7, Healing 7, even Bot 9 with them completely back to what they were.
I think there's just been too many years of damage that it's going to take years to build it up again. Now, do we know, based on playlists, previous snippets dropped over the years, where Gibsie is in college? Where he went? Where did he go? What is he doing?
We don't know, and because Gibsie's whole future, even in the books, is kind of
because we know Johnny's in Dublin. We know Shannon will get to Dublin. We know Hughie and Lizzie will eventually get to Dublin. Katie and Patrick seem like a mess that are going to be staying in Ballylagan. Joey and Aoife, I would imagine, are going to stay in Ballylagan because of her parents.
And AJ, I think that just makes sense for them to stay there.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Claire and Gibsie, we don't know where they're going.
Claire and Gibsie, the big question mark.
Which has brought me to my theories of them having a baby.
I mean, it's just mentioned so many times, you guys. Come on. It's mentioned so many times.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really know that for me personally, this is something that is at the top of my list that I'm ready for. I'm wanting it just because, like I said, even though it took us a long time to get to Gibsie and Lizzie's story, they still have been extremely important all along.
Yeah, They've been the glue that binds the group.
They're the catalyst.
They're the catalyst of everything.
They're the star. They're the tip of the star. Gibsie is the one that said that Lizzie makes the star because there were 5 of them. I think that they're the points, the important ones.
I agree. So, yeah, I think we will eventually get. And Chloe even did an interview, not an interview, but in the old Chloe Clover's days, there was a clip of her saying how connected these two will forever be. And so I think that is also important to realize, and going forward, that we are not going to see them really separate. And I feel like they have to heal from the mark of it all together as well, you know?
I feel like they have way too many things in common with each other. Yeah. Really, their main differences is their personality and how they communicate with people. And that is what boils down to what people find acceptable and how people behave.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
But, you know, here's the thing. They are separated, but one thing I found interesting is that all throughout Taming 7, Gibsie was not letting off Hughie's neck when it came to Lizzie. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he was calling him
out every time. And it wasn't in a negative, you know. I feel like, I think we're going to see, and I think we're really going to see Gibsie being like, you need to fess up to your feelings here. You need to stop dragging Katie along.
And that's why it takes me back to, I think it was important that it was written that he was the one in that Pierce moment. And because in Taming 7, obviously it was Gibsie's POV, not anybody else's, but you don't have Patrick calling out this Lizzie stuff. You have Gibsie doing it. So,
and you're gonna have, I mean, it's Gibsie. People are gonna be like, he's gonna make his snarky little jokes, but it's Gibsie. He makes his snarky little jokes about he's the funny comedian guy, haha, you know? So he's going to make those like, oh, once Lizzie gets her hands back on you, it's gonna be like a tick on a cow. Like that's him that's not him negative, that's him making
it's just how he talks.
Yes. But I do feel at the end of the day, he's going to actually be one of the bigger supporters of Lizzie and Hughie getting back together, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
No, I 1000% agree. I really do, and I really think it's all going to come out in Healing 7.
Agreed.
Which is kind of fascinating. I've been excited for Healing 7, but now I'm really excited for Healing 7.
Me too, actually.
That's going to be the future timeline, and it's going to be so much fun. So I know Olivia brought it up earlier, just kind of dropped it in there, but we've had this project planned forever. You guys, there's a lot of discrepancy in this fandom about how we all interpret scenes, dialogue, everything like that. So we are going to do a deep dive of all of the books. This is a popular thing. You guys can see them on YouTube. People do them for ACOTAR, Fourth Wing. It's not a new thing. Everybody does these. I expect other people to do this as well.
It's just to do it for Fourth Wing before the 4th book comes out, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what we decided to do is we are going to divide it up into about 10 chapters at a time. So Binding 13 will be about a 6-episode series. But it's just, we can really go over it and we can look at what is happening, where people are, because there's just way too many fights about how differently people interpret this series.
And what'll be good about this is you're going to get 2 different perspectives anyway from Ashley and myself. So you'll be able to see in real time how people can interpret that. I'm literally going to get a notebook. I'm literally going to write down and then we're going to come on here and discuss it.
It's going to be really exciting. So the first episode will cover through the school. Is it the Schoolboy Shield? Is that what
Schoolboy Shield?
So the Schoolboy Shield game where they get photographed together. That is what we're going to cover, just because it's a lot to talk about. It really is. And that's why I feel like we need to divide it into bigger sections, you know.
We'll actually put up on our Instagram, so if you're not following our Instagram, please go do so, Tired Witches Podcast, as well as our Discord. We'll put up kind of a schedule of what we'll be going over each week, so you guys can follow along and also maybe have your own notes.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, we will be focusing a lot on Johnny and Shannon, but we're really going to be taking notes about what everybody else is doing. And yes, I say everybody, because it's important. Where everybody is very important to the story. So I'm super excited. That is going to be starting next week. It'll be next Monday's episode, because you guys, that is officially my 3-year anniversary of picking up this book and how much it absolutely changed my life. And I told Olivia, I'm like, let's drop it that week. It's the perfect way to celebrate my anniversary. So it's going to be a fun series. It's going to take a while to get through all of these books, but I think this is the perfect thing to help tide a lot of us over while we're waiting for the next book and really start to analyze it more.
I agree. And hopefully by the time we're done with this, we'll have another book.
we say delusionally dreaming.
I know. Because it's funny, when I went through this book and was tabbing and making notes, obviously I was only paying attention to Liz and Hugh. So now I'm going back and paying attention to everybody else. We'll see what I come up with. I'm very excited.
So my last tandem reread in May, I actually had a different color tab for every character of the Core 10. So I'm going to use that one, and it'll be interesting to see if I missed anything.
Yeah.
This will be,
especially now, because we have so much more context to go off of.
Yeah, I think this might be my 6th reread of Binding 13, Keeping 13, yeah.
Okay.
I love it. So yeah, make sure you guys are following us on Instagram. That is where we will drop a lot of this information. Yeah. Make sure you're joining us in our Discord. We are having a lot of fun over there because, like I said, we are on a hiatus. We don't know how long the hiatus is going to be, and we're having lots of fun. We're trying to distract ourselves. We've got some watch parties planned. Christmas is planned. We're trying to plan content for that. We don't read very many Christmassy books, so we're trying to see what we can do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and we need to get you into Fourth Wing. Like,
I know,
a lot of people in the Discord are now are reading Fourth Wing right now.
I know, but I was like, I need to start Nocticadia before.
Started our own book club of the month book.
Yeah, we need to do that. But in all fairness, it's not even, as of tomorrow will be the middle of the month. So we're still okay.
Got time. Okay. I'll read them the day before. The last day of the month. Be like, Dad, guys.
No. That's not going to work this time. Last time was a reread. This is, you got to focus.
And also, please pay attention because we will be having a new schedule for our lives going up. Just with the holiday season and everything, we're thinking of tweaking that a little bit, so it might not be Thursdays, but we will keep you guys updated on Instagram as well, what it'll be there. Yeah, just because Thursdays
with Thanksgiving is Thursday, so that's already out.
Yeah.
And I think Christmas Eve is Thursday.
I was gonna say, I think
so yeah,
it just doesn't make. It's just a lot going on with traveling and everything, so.
Yep.
Doesn't make sense.
Yep, we're gonna just change it up a little bit, but like I said, just make sure you follow us on Instagram. That is where we post those updates.
Yeah. Okay, anything else you want to end with our Thor and Viper episode here?
No, just one closing thought. Just remember, you guys, it isn't about Gibsie versus It isn't about Gibsie versus Lizzie. Okay? There is one villain in this story, and it is neither one of them.
Yeah. They are both victims. That's just the bottom. At the end of the day, that is what it is. They are both victims.
And once they can heal each other and themselves and can heal their friendship, then I really truly think that this Core 10 is not going to be this broken, fractured thing that it is anymore.
I think they need to get a therapist that doesn't live in Ballylagan because apparently all doctors and therapists suck there. So
I know, don't they keep getting American therapists? Joey had an American therapist. She's like from North Dakota or something.
That's true. Like they need to all of them just need to leave that town, to be honest with you. So
seriously. But apparently Joey and Aoife are sticking around.
Well, yeah, I think actually it makes sense for them to be, because they're the grounded ones They're the only grounded ones right now.
That's true.
So
very, very
it makes
true.
sense that they be the honing beacon for the group to come back to Ballylagan.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. So, okay, keep a lookout. We'll update you guys on our Instagram, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Rob, down a comment below what your favorite Thor Viper moment is, how you guys feel about the relationship going forward, what you guys think is going to happen,
what you want to happen, how you want them to resolve this.
Yeah. But when we say favorite Thor and Viper moment, keep it positive, you guys. Think the R10. Go back to the happy moments, you guys. Give me a fun little quirk. The gummy worms of Gibsie.
Him farting on her in the bedroom. Stuff like that, you know? Think of the wholesome moments, okay?
Think of the wholesome moments, okay? Let's hold on to those moments because we're not going to get a lot of them in the upcoming books. So.
And with that, we give much love to Thor and the Viper.
Thor and the Viper. Bye, guys.